Hello, I am your teacher, Mr. Pacitti, and this is my classroom here in the Ohio State University. So put away your mobile phones, put away your Dean Ambroses, he's John Moxley again. It's time to concentrate, it's time to study. This is SmackDown Live, and this is Graded. We kick things off in the most exciting way possible with Michael Bloody Cole, and to a lesser extent the WWE Champion Kofi Kingston, who is here to address the despicable actions of one Kevin Owens. Michael Cole celebrates Kofi's win at WrestleMania and the journey to that moment, and there's video packages, and essentially we're almost a month removed from WrestleMania now. We don't need these constant reminders of Kofi's win. Obviously it was an amazing moment and all that, but we watched the show, we know about the journey. It's been 11 years, it's been every pissing week, the same thing. Give it a rest. It's almost 8 minutes before we get to some actual storyline development and what happened on last week's show. Kofi says that a lot of people have told him that he should have seen this coming, but he believed, the New Day believed that Kevin Owens had changed. The New Day is all about giving people second chances, but Kevin Owens will always be Kevin Owens. He says that if KO wanted to challenge for the WWE title, then he should have just asked. So keep that in mind, Chad Gable, Apollo Crews, dare I say it, Jinder. Don't worry about rising your way through the just ask, it's fine. Kofi challenges Owens to a WWE title match at Money in the Bank. Cue Kevin Owens, out he comes, accepts that challenge. Xavier Woods then attacks Kevin Owens from behind, the spineless bastard, but eats a big kick to the face, and Kevin Owens pegs it backstage as Kofi Kingston sees to his friend. This gets a C+ from me. When you've got a 15-minute promo where literally half of it is just recapping a story that we already know, that's a real issue, especially when it's kicking off an episode of TV. I do like the idea that Owens is getting into Kofi's head, using that fan sentiment that Kofi's win at WrestleMania was more about a big moment rather than establishing a long-reigning champion. That does add intrigue to the match at Money in the Bank, but when it takes 15 minutes to get that point across, then something is wrong. Next up, for the first time ever on the main roster, Bayley versus Becky Lynch. The match starts, then we immediately go to a commercial break, which it just felt weird. Like, obviously commercials are a necessity, I totally understand that, but the placement of this one was odd. It could have just happened before the match, but whatever. Anyway, a pretty strong showing for Bayley here, showing increased intensity, something that she was desperately lacking over on Raw. She was stagnating there, and I really hope that she does find a home on SmackDown and is able to show off her strongest quality, which is absolutely her in-ring work. The match sees Becky Lynch working the arm of Bayley. Bayley goes up top for an elbow drop, but Becky Lynch gets her knees up, locks in the disarmer, Bayley taps out. Your winner is Becky Lynch. But before she has a chance to celebrate, Charlotte Flair runs in, attacks Becky Lynch from behind, lays her out, heels it up in the middle of the ring as both women are laid on the floor outside. Bitch. This one gets a B-, no real issue with the match itself, and it was nice to see Bayley really shine with that increased intensity, even in defeat. That said, it was a bit short for my liking, could have gone an extra, 7 or 8 minutes they could have found from somewhere else in the show. It didn't even need 7 or 8 minutes, it needed to be a little bit longer, I felt. It just felt like it was getting going, and then the finish came, and that was it. Next up, out come the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boyz, with a Z or a Z if you're watching this in America. Matt and Jeff are here, and Jeff is hobbling. He is on a crutch. He is not looking well at all. He blames his leg injury on Lars Sullivan, who attacked him, and the Hardy Boyz, with a Z or Z, are relinquishing the SmackDown Tag Championships. Jeff says it breaks his heart that they never even got to defend those SmackDown Tag titles, and then before he can continue, he is interrupted by the man himself, Snitsky 2.0, Lars Sullivan. Oh dear. Sullivan attacks Matt, closes in on Jeff, but Matt makes the save, but not for long. Lars ruins him, closes in on Jeff once again. This time making the save is R-Truth, comes in, clobbers Lars in the back with a steel chair, goes for another chair shot, but Lars just punches it out of his hands, which was really cool. He then lifts him up like Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing, drops him, and starts walking up the ramp past Jeff Hardy, who I don't actually think was touched, but is just laying on the floor anyway, like he's forgotten how to walk. I'm being horrible about Jeff Hardy. He's legit injured. Sorry, Jeff. And then he poses. Lars Sullivan poses to close the segment. Not properly poses, not like an icon. He looks to close the segment. It's a tough one to grade this, but I'm going to give it a B. Obviously it sucks to see the Hardy Boyz having to relinquish the tag team titles, especially considering that this could very well be their last time with the belts. Let that sink in for a second. Yeah. But at least they managed to get something out of it. Lars Sullivan continues to look like an absolute beast, and this segment I think was really effective. Next up, it's Kairi Sane and Asuka with their new entrance music, which blends both Kyrie and Asuka's music so seamlessly together. They put in a lot of work there, utilizing the same style that I used when I used to make mashups at the age of 14 in Winamp. A Winamp reference. It really kicks the llama's ass. Nobody's going to get that. Moving on. Team Winamp is taking on a pair of local competitors. One of them looks like Poison Ivy out of the comic book series Batman. I've done my research, and obviously Asuka and Kyrie pick up the win. Kyrie hits the insane elbow, and that's your lot. It was a really quick one. Obviously, it was a squash match. They then stare down the Iconics, who were on commentary, who did a fantastic job, were hilarious as expected. I'm going to give this match a B, which does seem a little bit generous for a squash match, but let me explain. Essentially, I just really like Asuka and Kairi Sane working together. They've got tremendous chemistry, and although I really like the Iconics, I think they're tremendous. If you're looking for a legit tag team to be at the forefront of the women's tag division, then Asuka and Kairi Sane is the obvious choice, and hopefully they get those belts sooner rather than later. I can't believe I'm saying that when I love the Iconics so much, but that's the way I feel. They work so tremendously well together. All they need is a proper tag finisher rather than an Asuka just doing something to set up for the elbow. Backstage now, and we go to Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Mandy comes in and says that Shane has given them the opportunity to enter the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, but only one of them. Mandy says it should be Sonya. Sonya says it should be Mandy. Mandy accepts. Sonya turns on Mandy at Money in the Bank. They have a bit of a feud. Mandy comes out on top because she's blonde. Roman Reigns time. Roman's here to talk about the punch heard around the world to the face of Vinnie Mac. He says that SmackDown is his yard now. He's still the big dog, blah, 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 blah. Then out comes Shane, who says that, Roman, this may be your yard, but the McMahon family own all the land. And then Roman says, well, your daddy owns all the land. Shane says that he'd love to come down to the ring and slap Roman around, but he has to go off and train for his steel cage match against The Miz at Money in the Bank. But Roman, if you're looking for a fight, then there's a whole roster backstage who would like to take you up on that, and here are two of them. Who could it be? B-Team! B-Team! Go, go, go! It's the B-Team. Shane then sets up a handicap match, both members of the B-Team taking on Roman Reigns, but that's not it! There's also a special guest referee enforcer, whatever that means, and his name is Elias. The match then starts, but before I get to that, I'm going to give the promo a grade. I'm going to give this a C-, because we've seen the odds stacked against Roman time and time and time and time again. You're now in a position where Roman Reigns is finally being cheered. If you want to ruin that, keep booking him like this, because that is the way to turn the crowd on Roman Reigns. And that's probably what they're going to do. The match itself was fine, pretty much exactly what you would expect. Roman Reigns dominating until Elias makes the distraction, distracts the ref, despite the fact that he's the ref, but he's the special guest enforcer ref, not the real ref. It feels like a Raw match, this, which isn't a compliment. Roman hits this cool Samoan drop DDT combination, and then as the real ref is making the count, the fake ref, the special guest enforcer ref, Elias pulls out the ref, the real ref, you know what I mean, and Roman makes chase, but he then gets thrown into the ring post, thrown back into the ring, and then Curtis hits the perfect plex, and Elias, the fake ref, but he's also a ref, he comes in, makes the count, 1, 2, oh, it's just a 2 count. Oh, you're a heel special guest ref enforcer. Why didn't you just fast count, for goodness sake? Elias gets frustrated. Elias, get the guitar. Elias gets the guitar, brings it back in the ring, but before he can use it, Roman Reigns spear, 1, 2, 3, the regular ref making the count, and Roman Reigns overcomes the odds again. Hoo-ha! Obviously. C-, have a C-. This lasted far too long, and we've seen it all before. No thanks. Next up, it's time for a tag team match. Insert Teddy Long reference. It is all 4 of the confirmed Money in the Bank entrants from the SmackDown side. The team of Andrade and Randy Orton taking on Finn Bálor and Ali. The match itself was decent, but not as good as it could have been. Ali and Finn Bálor absolutely standing out in this one. They were fast-paced. They were really, really fun to watch, but it could have gone 5 minutes longer, essentially. They could have trimmed 5 minutes off the Roman BS or wherever else in the show, and this would have been the standout match of this episode of SmackDown. There really wasn't a standout match of this episode of SmackDown. Normally, there's at least one. And this week was different. Anyway, Ali picks up the win with the 450, pinning Andrade, but before him and Finn can celebrate, Finn eats an RKO from Randy Orton, but Ali then kicks Orton's little grimy face off. Ali is the man to stand tall to close this match. A pretty good match. I'll give it a B. It would have been a B-, but I really enjoyed Ali not only being the one to pick up the win, but also taking out Randy Orton. I don't think he's in with the biggest chance at Money in the Bank, but I wouldn't be anti him winning at all. The final 2 women's Money in the Bank participants from the SmackDown side of things are then confirmed in a backstage segment. They are Carmella and Ember Moon, joining of course Bayley and Mandy Rose. Really happy that Ember is in there. Hopefully she gets a big push on SmackDown. I think she is terrific. It would have been a real shame to not see her in there after being drafted, so very good, very happy indeed to see her there. Main event time, and it's the Kevin Owens show. This week's host is Kevin Owens, and his guest is the man that he took out earlier tonight, Xavier Woods. Xavier, except he's too beat up to come out, but it's okay because Kevin Owens has a plan. That's right, Kevin Owens has got an Xavier Woods action figure. He places that figure on the chair, then places a Big E figure next to it, calls them trash, kicks them over. 8-year-old me would have been livid. I'm livid. They're collectibles, Kevin. For goodness sake, shouldn't have even taken them out of the boxes. And then Kofi Kingston appears at the top of the ramp, takes his shirt off, revealing that marvelous chest of his. Oh, it's gonna kick off. Kofi runs down to the ring, attacks Owen, throws him over the announce table, and then drops an announce chair on top of him. Kevin Owens gets the hell out of there. He retreats as the two stare down to close the show. This honestly saved a very average episode of SmackDown for me. We finally got past all of the Kofi celebration stuff that we've been seeing for so long. Instead, we were treated to a more intense, more compelling version of Kofi Kingston. And Kevin Owens was terrific as well. I love the action figure stuff. I'm going to give this one an A-. Is that too generous? I'm going to give it an A- because on an episode which was so average, this stood out as the best thing. Maybe that's the reason that I'm giving it a high A-. Overall, this episode of SmackDown gets a C-. I'm worried about SmackDown. For so long, we've had cohesive storylines, good writing, generally strong booking, and as I mentioned earlier, this episode of SmackDown didn't feel right. It felt like an episode of Raw, and that worries me. So thanks again to Jack for filling in for me on last week's episode of SmackDown Graded while I was away on official Cultaholic business in New York City. I apologise for the lack of dad jokes. I love telling dad jokes. Sometimes he laughs. Good to be back. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.